Alright, so I've put some gauges, I'm installing gauges. I got these things from Harbor Freight for 15 bucks. And I got the the gauges in there right now. Now I'm gonna put this tack that I got, cheap tack. I'm gonna put it inside here, but it doesn't fit. But what I'm going to do is the original stamping that had the instrument panel. This is actually the front side of that stamping. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the front side. All these bolt holes match up if you flip it over. And I'm going to take and weld a new plate on the back side of this and have the hole for the tack on there. So it'll come in here and bolt, and the tack will be recessed back behind. And then on that plate, I'm going to drill and have my left and right indicators, so left turn and right turn. And I'll weld for it to come up. So this will blink left and this will blink right, and it'll have two boxes built into there for that. So I'm going to modify that plate and get this tack to where it, so basically that tack will sit like this back inside that instrument panel. So I'm going to do that now. The reason why I'm doing this now is because I need to know the depth of these things. When I go to weld this to the defroster tube, I need to know that this doesn't hit anything and I can actually service it. If I do need room, right now I can easily just come out. So I'm gonna get all these gauges in, and for fun I might put my Dodge emblem in there while I'm doing this. So alright, I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna re-weld that, modify it, and get the tack in. Okay, so I got the back plate cut out of that. I end up with this little piece that's going to bolt in the back of my. I got some thicker metal. It'll just make it easier to weld and less to distort when I go to weld this thin piece onto there. So, what I'm going to actually do is use the packaging, and it gives me the hole size. So I'm going to come in here and punch a hole saw and then use the jigsaw to cut that out. But so I'm going to transfer all that stuff. I've marked the approximate center and how far that gauge is going to go. So I got center. I'll be able to line up centers. Put that hole into this back plate, and then weld this to there. And then my tack will be able to drop in behind the bezel. And I don't need a speedometer because the radio's got GPS. It'll give me speed off the GPS. And the old school hot rod way is the remember RPMs. So I mean, if you're doing 3,000 RPMs in third gear, you're doing 55 mile an hour. I mean, it's not rocket science. You just clock people. So you'd follow a buddy, and the buddy flashes lights when he got to 55, and you'd remember what that speed is on RPMs, and bam, you don't need a speedo. So with the GPS and also doing the old hot rod way with the RPM, this is all I need. So I'm going to put a big tack right into that center bezel, and but I need to cut this plate out now. That's what I'm going to do. Alright, so everything's laid out. I traced around the outside of this, and then I put a center line off my marks of that, and then just use this. So now though, it's going to sit in there, like so. So we'll cut that out, and with a jigsaw first, and then we'll go over to the bandsaw, cut the outside, and then weld it to there, and then we'll be able to bolt it using the factory mounts right to the back of the, and I'm going to build a box section out of here and drill, you know, for indicator lights to go into what used to be the park and whatever. It's going to have, you know, indicator lights so I know my turn signals are on or off. Okay, so I just plunge cut a razor wheel grinder in there, and then that allowed me to drop the blade for the, because it's clamped to a fab table that I got, and that allowed me to run the blade in. Now I'm just working my way around that circle to cut it out so the gauge will drop in, and then after that I'll cut the outside off. Alright, so I took a air pneumatic grinder with a, I call it a nibbler, and I cut that hole until the tack dropped in. So we got it to go in there now. Now I can go and use the bandsaw and cut that outside edge out. Alright, so I got that piece cut out on the bandsaw. Now we'll go over there and fit it all and get it welded together. Okay, so I got the two pieces tacked together here, so that I end up with this for my tack to go in. There it is with the tack in it now, and it'll go in behind that bezel. Now what I need to do is make the mount on the back side for it. So the tack has, you know, actually bolts into this piece instead of just slid in. Alright, so there's the mount bracket that holds the back of it on this tack. This is actually the other mount bracket, and I put a curve in it. And I'm going to put it up there and weld the mount to hold that right. And then I can actually bolt this into the dash and then get the dash in. Alright, so the mounting bracket there is welded on for the tack. I took it all apart and welded it. So now I'm ready. I need to go get some hardware. I need to get some shorter screws, but now I'm ready to bolt it back in the back. I'm not going to worry about the turn signals right now. I just really need to know how deep this is so I can put the dash in. I can do all that stuff later, you know. So now I got this done. That's going to be the last thing I need to do before I put the dash inside. I just need to know how deep this. Alright, so there it is all mounted. I'm ready to bolt this piece up inside that dash. Alright, I made a cardboard template to fit up in the inside there. And I went and I took these coupling nuts for all thread. And I've tacked them inside that housing I made. And I took this piece of cardboard and took it to a piece of Lexane. I've cut it out with the jigsaw. Now I'm going to put it together and get it to bolt up. And then what that allowed me to do is later I'll come in and be able to drill and put my left and right turn signal that'll be inside here, left and right. And then I'll be able to tape it off and paint it all black, but the center section that I want in here for the attack. So I'll be able to tape it off however I want, spray paint this black, and then I'll have this instrument cluster done. Alright, so I've drilled the holes and I've got 1024 stainless, and I put the piece of that came with the gauge. Remember I cut the rear hole? I just eye-lined it up and I made a mark where I'm going to lay out to paint this outside black. So I'll be able to tape the inside off and spray paint this all black, and then later I can go in and put those turn signal indicators and maybe an oil indicator if I wanted to, you know, neutral, whatever. I could have oil, neutral, left and right, and bulbs in there. So I got that piece of plastic bolted, and I'm ready to take it out and paint this. Alright, so I got it taped off. I took some sandpaper around the outside there so that paint will stick maybe for a little longer. And I got some black paint, and I'm going to shoot it black and then let it dry. I'm gonna shoot the stainless screws black too, and then I'm gonna pull that tape off, and and then I'm gonna put the tack back in after it dries and put it all back together. All right, I got it all painted and reassembled in here. It bolts back in using the factory locations. They're 832 screws. I bought stainless ones because they're cheap. But so I got it all bolted back in, and there she is. So now I'll go over and do the Dodge emblem on this side. But I got the tack put in and the other gauges so far. So yeah. And so I'll just go ahead and put that Dodge emblem in, and now I'll be able to know the distance that I need to install the dash. So alright, so I got my Dodge emblem put on, and I got my tack and all that stuff. So I really didn't need to do this, but that was just fun, good fun. So, but this will tell me how close I can put this in there when I go to weld it to that defroster tube of mine. Well, I got in the truck and I wasn't really impressed with it. I didn't like looking through both pieces of plexiglass, so I cut the hole out that was there. I'm going to reshoot it and put it back in. I've did some work with an air sander sanding the inside, but anyway, I'm not going to have two pieces of Lexane. I probably could have done this with steel, but anyway, this is where we're at, and sometimes I screw up. Alright, so I got it in there with that cut out. I think it looks a lot much better like that, so I'm going to put it up in there. I'm finally able to weld it. It looks like I can get it to drop back as far as I would like it to be, so I think that actually looks pretty good. So I'm gonna put it up in there and show you. Okay, so there's plenty of room back in there for the tack to be, and I got the tack, which I should be able to see it, and then gauges and my Dodge emblem over there. So I think it's looking pretty good. And like I said, I'm gonna use this for left and right turn. Maybe a neutral light. Maybe I'll put a neutral light in here or something. Put neutral, left, right turn signals, just so I know whether they're on or not. Because they're not going to be in the steering column. It's not going to self-cancel. I'll have to know to cancel it. So if I got a light, indicator light there blinking to cancel, tell me to cancel, and turn it off. So it looks like it's going to be serviceable, like I can get in there and take it apart and work on everything, and it's going to look pretty good. I'll have my tack, and then this part's actually, when I go to do the steering column, I make the cover for the steering column, I'll make a plate that comes up and drill and tap that for one bolt. So I'll fit a piece of metal that goes in here and is part of the column cover. Same thing down here on the bottom. The cover will come on and cover all that. So that's later when I go to actually finish the steering column out. But I need to get that dash in the position where it needs to be, and I need to make sure that I could actually put my gauges in and be able to service them. So and like I said before, I won't need a speedometer, because down here I'm going to put a 7-inch touchscreen. It'll probably actually run all the way up into the dash, like in this area, and this will be cut out what I put in, and there'll be a part of the console that navigation unit will go there, radio, and it'll give me my speed whenever I'm in maps. It'll give me my speed, so I really don't need to hook anything to the transmission. Alright, well, hope you like this kind of stuff. I think the Dodge emblem looks pretty good, and it's kind of long, so I'm finally ready to weld it in there and move on. All right. Have a nice day.